fans, and welcome to Screaming Titans, the vlog series from Silver Screams, where a bunch of girls scream about Attack on Titan.
We did a lot of that this episode, holy shit.
We did indeed. I'm Megan Salinas.
I'm Katie Cullen. What the fuck just happened?
We had to watch this one twice because literally the first time we watched it,
We hit the halfway
5 minutes in, I was like, wait, no, I'm so confused. I am already lost.
We hit the halfway point and kind of go, no, pause it there. There's the card, pause it. Okay, so, and had to do a rundown of what had just happened because we were both just like, that is so much information.
Well, because it's this giant lore dump that's just like thrown at us, and I'm like reading the subtitles trying to process it, and I'm like, whoa, slow down, what's happening? Wait. And it's tough too, and we'll talk about it, but it's tough too because it's hard to tell in terms of the history of this world what's true and what's false. So we're gonna get into that, but long story short, we were like, by the time this episode was done.
Happened.
The first time around, we required a palate cleanser of like, hey, let's I don't know, watch anything that wasn't that.
So we watched part of Agretzko, which hurt us in different ways.
Indeed.
No spoilers for that either.
No, it was really funny because when we were watching Agretzko season 2, since that just dropped, it's like, well, because we had trouble like quantifying our emotions after this episode of Attack on Titan, and watching Agretzko, it's like, well, I don't feel a sense of confused injustice anymore.
Nebulously horrified anymore. Now I'm just mad.
No, you literally said confused injustice,
Was
and
that
I
it? Okay.
absolutely loved that as a term, and I was like, I love that. So before we really get into it, if this is your first time here, hello, welcome.
Hey, welcome to the deep end.
We have a strict no manga spoiler policy. So guys, we are here to only discuss episode 57 of the anime. If you're looking for a manga comparison, I would request that you go elsewhere, because we are only talking about the anime in this capacity. We do not want manga spoilers. Please, no spoilers in the comments section. Keep them to yourself. I know it's difficult, but please be courteous to us. Please be courteous to the people in the comments. Don't do it.
And that includes the I think I'm being clever spoilers that are like, well, this, and gives a very obvious clue, or oh, well, this, and gives a not so obvious clue, because there will always be someone who figures it out.
Don't be
I
cryptic.
had someone specifically on purpose spoil me for who died in the 4th Harry Potter book less than a month after it had come out by doing one of those, don't tell me what happened, oh, well, it was this. Didn't say the name, but gave me a very obvious clue. So it's like, So don't try to be clever, because there will always be someone just as clever as you are who you have now spoiled.
And
so don't do that.
And I would request that you guys also just be careful if you are tiptoeing around spoilers. Be careful about what you say. For example, Katie inadvertently spoiled me for a pretty big thing in the books for Game of Thrones while trying to avoid spoiling me for something else. So
I think I avoided spoiling you for the red wedding and inadvertently spoiled you for the purple wedding.
You did. You did.
One of those moments of shit.
You did.
And that was in the course of conversation. You have to actually think about what you're writing and then hit send.
Exactly.
So give us another read over. Don't put any spoilers on.
Please.
I got spoiled for Armin a couple episodes ago. Before those episodes aired, by someone doing it in error. So
I got spoiled for Bertolt by somebody doing it on purpose. It happens, guys. That's why we say please don't spoil it. And that's why we take time at the beginning of every video to
tell you
it.
not to spoil it. Most of you are regulars, most of you understand this, most of you are pretty good at this. Some of you who are new, we do this for you guys. We love you, thank you for showing up. Please follow the house rules or we'll punch your asses.
And we're also going to start this episode off by talking about the elephant in the room, and that's by addressing the clear historical parallels between what is going on in the story and what is obviously being drawn from in terms of our world's history. So the fact of the matter is, there's no dancing around it. This is clearly...
This is a ghetto.
Yeah, this is a ghetto, and it is clearly paralleling and drawing direct inspiration from the experiences of the Jewish people in Nazi Germany. Now,
Germany, Poland.
This was obviously a delicate subject, and a couple weeks ago, it sort of came into our periphery that there was some controversy about the creator, and that there was a discussion about whether or not he was a Nazi sympathizer, and we did not want to really engage in that discussion because it involved spoilers. Obviously, I felt very, very, very conflicted about it because I really enjoy this franchise, and obviously if the creator, if it turned out that he was a Nazi sympathizer, I obviously wanted to have nothing to do with the rest of this series. So we looked into it a little bit, didn't really get any spoilers, and basically the long and short is that we were kind of bracing ourselves for something to happen, and then these 2 episodes happened, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see where the controversy is coming from a little bit, and there's probably definitely more coming in the manga. Again,
Yeah,
please.
again, we're not going to talk about the controversy around the creator, and we're going to try not to talk too much about the parallels because it's things that we are not necessarily completely qualified to talk about. And so we don't want to stand here and say, we're the authorities and here's how we... Not in any capacity, no.
No.
So we're pointing out that, yes, we've seen the parallels, we've heard about the controversy, we have seen all of these things, and for the purposes of these videos, we are keeping those to the periphery for now. We understand that they are there. We are choosing not to engage with them because we do not have the full set of tools to engage with them. And the last thing we want to do is do a poor job of that.
Yes. The reason I still feel comfortable doing these vlogs at the current moment is that my big concern was when this internment camp was introduced and this set of circumstances was obviously introduced. My big concern was that there was going to be some sort of glorification of Nazi actions, which is where that controversy would have come from. At the moment, as it stands, it does not appear to be in any way, shape, or form glorifying what actually happened in Germany during World War II, which was my big concern. That doesn't necessarily mean that what's happening isn't necessarily ham-fisted or tone-deaf in any capacity. We kind of have to wait and see how the story pans out to really make a judgment call on that. But as I said, my main fear was that it was going to be a glorification of a particular horrific worldview, and that's not seemingly the case. So with that out of the way, again,
that's not the focus of these videos. We don't have the correct tools or experiences to engage fully with them, so we're not gonna.
But also, I think I don't even know why I feel like I have to say this, but it goes without saying that obviously if you're a Nazi, you are in the wrong. And why do we have to say that in 2019?
This is one of those, even the categories. You can't even see her right now. She's off camera, but you definitely heard her there. Yeah, this is one of those, I can't believe it has to be said, but we'd better damn well say it because there will be people who don't fucking get it, sort of decades.
Yeah. And again, this intro has been long enough as it is.
Racism is bad, Nazism is bad, fucking stop it.
Yeah. All of those things are bad and terrible. And
Don't do it.
If there are any hateful comments in the comment section, anybody supporting Nazi worldview, anybody anybody making any sort of racial slurs or anything like that, I'm going to delete them and you will be blocked. That's just
reported.
Exactly. And that's just how it is, and I'm not sorry about that.
No.
So be on your best behavior or you're out. And also, if you happen to hold those worldviews, maybe go to a library and educate yourself. Anyway, let's get back to talking about this fun cartoon. Right,
so Agretzko.
So, with that out of the way, thank you for everybody who's bearing with us as we went through that very, very serious real talk.
It's like that character with a scroll and they shake it out and it just rolls for like a mile.
Man, I hope
a little bit, but
I hope the rest of the intros for the rest of the series aren't nearly that long.
Look, when you're engaging with controversial content, you gotta.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about this gigantic lore dump.
I gotta go see the blimp.
Let's go see the blimp. So the sort of framework of this whole scenario before we get the world building is that Grisha and his little sister Faye go to see the blimp. They get caught because of course they get caught.
Because they are out of the internment zone.
Yeah, and they literally use the terms internment zone. So again, there's no dancing around it. And because they don't have the proper papers, they're given a choice. Okay, beating or labor, and not wanting to inconvenience his parents, probably wanting to minimize the amount of trouble he's getting in. He's like, beating. Also,
Give me my sister's beating because I dragged her out here with me.
Exactly. So he's getting punished, and she is led away to go home.
Here's the thing. Do you think if she'd been beaten alongside him, she'd still be alive? They wouldn't have been separated. Or would the guy just have fed Grisha to his dogs too?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Because that's the long and short of it, is after his beating, he has a moment with this guy named Kruger. They have a moment together.
This public safety officer.
Yeah. Who, as we find out, there's a lot more to him than what we see, than what's just on the surface here. But what we find out in literally the next scene is that after his little sister was led away, she was murdered. And it's not until years later that he finds out that she was murdered in a very horrific way. Apparently she was torn apart by dogs. And the person responsible was, of course, the officer that led her away.
Yeah, so we've got Kruger and we've got the guy whose name I can't remember.
It doesn't matter. He's an awful murderer.
Something or other. Yeah. He's terrible.
But so Grisha's back home, and his parents are sitting down with these public safety officers, and the long and short of it is that he is lying about the circumstances and is saying...
The officer is.
Yeah. He's
pronoun game.
Yeah. Ding. But he's lying about the circumstances. He's like, I took her back to the gates to get her home, and I didn't see her after that. It's not my problem.
Also, I'm busy, don't bother me.
I'm super important, super busy, and also, like, your kids shouldn't be running around in that area anyway. Like, what kind of parents are you?
Put a collar on him if you can't get him to obey. Because these are the things you pick up on when you can read two sets of subtitles at once.
Yeah, and it was very much a know your place. They can't call him out on it, and because of his position, none of his subordinates are going to call him out on it. So this man just seemingly gets away with murder, and we don't know on how much of a consistent basis he does this. Given how casually it was, I would assume he's probably a friggin' serial killer.
I'm gonna go with fairly consistent, especially since I guess his sons just had vicious dogs on hand. Like,
yeah.
Why would you even keep... no. This is probably the kind of guy who exhibited all of the serial killer signs growing up, and then,
head injury,
head injury, torturing animals,
arson, he wet the bed.
For everyone going, what? Listen to some My Favorite Murder. The going pattern is child who experiences head injury often grows up to be a serial killer, especially in like the early 1900s.
Well, honestly, any true crime podcast, when you guys start, like, when you get to the section of the true crime podcast that start talking about serial killers and
you notice
different
some
profiles.
patterns, and so do the hosts.
There are definitely some patterns there. Anyway, neither here nor there. We don't know this guy's
Dude was
deal.
probably a serial killer, and I would imagine that no one would have cared had any of his actions come to light. It would have just been, slap on the wrist and probation, and we're getting a little too close to real life again. So anyway, so Grisha becomes a doctor.
So yeah,
Or rather, Grisha learns history.
Yeah. He grows to sort of hate his father because his father is obviously can't call the guy out on it, and so Grisha, who's like, I saw it happen, I know what happened, this guy's a friggin' liar, grows to hate his father. But he really grows to hate his father when we get this gigantic lore dump. And that's when we learn about the original member of the royal family, the original Titan, Ymir Fritz.
1,820 years ago, she made a deal with the devil, I guess.
Questions.
Question mark.
I already have questions.
And
the devil exists too.
And got Titan powers, and supposedly when she died, I love that your notes say 9 Horcruxes. That makes me really, really happy. Her soul split into the 9 founding Titans, was it?
Yes, the 9. I think they called them founding Titans, but
and then
but they're
Titan
basically
kind.
special Titans. Yeah.
And then Titan kind, forced other humans and other species to have their babies to raise their numbers, and dominated the world and subjugated everyone, and were just terrible, terrible rulers, and we hated them. And so the great nation of Marley rose up, took over 7 of them, got 7 of these 9 founding Titans under their control. And
which we should point out, under their control could mean literally anything.
We'll get into...
We have lots of question marks after that.
I think we'll get into the giant questions when we kind of hit the end of the recap.
True
Because
story.
there's been throwing a lot of theories at the wall. And again, no spoilers. Don't tell us if we're right. Don't tell us if we're wrong. Just
We
sit
like
there and
theorizing.
smile. The mod face is a good thing to do. :3. Cat smile. I'm not telling you anything. Cat smile.
We like
Anyway.
theorizing. That's one of the reasons why we do these.
Oh, yeah. So no confirms, no denials, just all fun. So the great nation of Marley took over 7 of the Titans and managed to win the Great Titan War 120 years ago. And I don't know why I'm in this narrator voice, because this is my bullshit history voice.
I was gonna say,
I guess.
you sound like an old man in a fantasy
It's episode 3 of SAO Abridged. I'm going to tell you the story about Kirito's Christmas. Yeah. There's no burn on this one.
I have my book. I have my bourbon. Gather round, children. Let's make some Christmas. So anyway.
So we won the war, and the Titan King went, fuck this shit, I'm out, and moved the capital to the island of Paradise, and made 3 giant walls full of Titans, and basically took most of the population with him. So the Eldians live in walls, and we, the great Marlians, won the war and are now dominating the planet. But we won't actually tell you that. We live out here in freedom and glory, and you Eldians must pay for your ancestors' sins. Ancient sins.
I demand that you recap every anime series ever made in that voice.
Look, it hurts my throat after a little while, alright?
I demand it!
Do I look like Matt Mercer?
No.
What if I put my hair down? No, I'm kidding. He's rocking an amazing beard right now.
But so, yeah, I mean, this is the thing. This is one of the reasons why we had to watch this twice, is that we, through the course of this episode, get 2 different accounts of the history of this world, or at least the history of the Marlians and the Eldians. because according to the Marleyans, who are, of course, currently in power and suppressing the Eldians,
History is written by the victors.
yes, they were the resistance fighters who rose up over their oppressors, who sought ethnic cleansing and wanted to, as you said, subjugate the world. And of
What's
course,
fun is when you accuse people of a crime that you yourself are guilty of.
exactly. Hypocrisy, yay!
Let's go. Anyway.
So, but then of course we get some ancient texts and we get a very different account. And this is years later, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it up now.
Yeah.
Just in comparison to what the two accounts are. According to Eldian history, and this is ancient Eldian history that even a lot of Eldians can't really read and decipher.
I'm not sure any Eldians can read it.
No.
Like, fully read it. I mean, where's Ymir when you need her, right?
Yeah. But Grisha seems, later on, he's working on deciphering it. So they have at least some rudimentary idea that, oh, wait, no, Titans actually helped the people of this continent. They built bridges and, like,
cultivated the land and helped, like, the agricultural revolution was helped along by Titans.
You know, things that you can do when you're giant and have super strength and can move boulders and lift other heavy objects and all sorts of other things. That's what, according to Eldian history, the Titans were doing. Now, and up until this war started. So, we don't know what's actually the truth of the world. We don't know how much of the Marleyans... What we're led to believe, of course, is that the Marleyans are simply lying. But the fact of the matter is we don't know how much of either account is true because Grisha's view of it is incomplete. And obviously the Marleyans have a lot of motive to lie.
I feel like the truth is going to be somewhere in the middle there. What I do want to do is go back and rewatch the end theme for the first half of this season, because a lot of the art that we saw during these recaps, the making a deal with the devil, the war, all of that fun stuff, and actually art of Titans coming out of the ocean, which I guess explains, fuck it, we're moving to an island.
Yeah.
All of that was in the first half of this season, that ending theme. So at some point I need to go back and put that back
Honestly,
in my face and be like,
it would be worth it to go back and rewatch the first 2.5 seasons. Once this season is done, I'm definitely planning a rewatch.
Or at least the episode with Ymir's backstory,
Yeah.
just to be like, okay, we have a lot more context now. Let's figure this out.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts too, because in the history of both accounts, yes, it was, depending on who you ask, it was a deal with the devil, or like straight up a gift from God. So again, depending on
Weird
who's
supernatural bullshit. But then again, don't we have 1,000 different myths for the creation of the world?
Exactly. And
Could be
so I'm sitting here and honestly, it was almost 2,000 years ago. What another interesting parallel to our world.
1,820 years ago, exactly. And it's like, holy shit, really?
Which actually lines up with sort of the steampunk industrial
1820, yeah.
industrial look of the world. Oh my god.
Getting actual numbers has been super weird.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, 1,820 years ago, and then they won the war 80 years ago. I'm like, so that means there was a 40-year chunk of war. Because they talked about, well, this ethnic cleansing and this and that went on for 1,700 years, and then 80 years ago, Marley won the war. And I'm like, all right, so there's 40 years in there that are not accounted for. Did your war go on for 40 years? Are you trying to be France? Like, what are we doing? So the war could have gone on for 40 years. I don't fucking know.
Again, it's hard to say.
They gave us numbers and I'm finding holes in them already.
What I'm more interested in is the creation story, because one of the things, and we'll talk about it a little bit more too, one of the things that we were wondering was whether or not the Shifter Titans were artificially created. And so I'm wondering if Deal with the Devil or Gift from God, I'm wondering if both of those are 100% inaccurate, and this was if this was in fact a man-made jump in evolution or a man-made...
Ymir was a scientist.
Maybe. I would love that. That would be amazing. That would be incredible. What doesn't explain how she split her soul into 9 bits, but maybe she was just doling out Titan powers.
I think that she created those 9.
Yeah.
We'll see. Again, I'm going to run with Ymir was a scientist until I'm proven wrong by the series.
I love that theory, and I want to run with it too. Neutral science at best, at worst.
I mean, who's our other neutral scientist? Hanji.
Ooh.
Imagine what Hanji can do with all of this information. I'm especially crying over all it takes is Titan spinal fluid. Like, they had 2 Titans captive.
They had them.
That would be why Annie wrecked them.
Yeah.
Because Annie knows.
Exactly. So
all of these pieces falling back into place.
But that explains the origins of our 9 Shifter Titans, or the special Titans.
Of which we have accounted for 6.
Yes, we got the Berserker Titan, the Beast Titan, the Female Titan, the Armored Titan, the Colossal Titan,
whoever Ymir ate.
Yeah, and the Founding Titan.
Which we assume is the coordinate, which is also now in the Berserker Titan, so we're kind of down by 1.
So if our math is right, we are still unaccounted for 2 Titans. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I was like, 2... Was that a 3? I can't tell.
No. We have 2 Titans that are supposedly still under the control of the Marleyan Empire? Marley country? Marley town?
Government?
Marley town? Marley.
Marley and Marley.
Whoa!
So yeah, supposedly still under their control and are unaccounted for in our narrative.
It's possible that they've been lost. It's possible we haven't met them yet. We don't know. Presume that they're under Marleyan control.
It's also possible that they lied about the number of Titans that they had under their control, and that a couple other Titans just went, okay, peace, I'm out. Bye. So that's sort of that's the world building. And again, how much of that is true and how much of that is false and how much of that is just man-made constructed myth around the world that they live in. It's kind of a question mark, but
we do know that the king took the Founding Titan. That bit at least is true, because that's the coordinate.
Yeah, and we also know that that whole stuff with the royal family is definitely true. And we definitely, because of that lineage, know that Ymir had to have been a real person. The other interesting thing is that the entirety of the show, where all of this was taking place, as you mentioned, Paradis is the name of the island. It's an island! They were on an island the whole time, which means the scouting regiment
was so goddamn close to the ocean.
Oh, man.
But yeah, and that also explains the whole bit from the first half of the season where, we beg him to take down the walls, and then he gets the memories and goes, nope. He remembered this war. He remembered why the walls went up. And the threat about, if anyone comes after us, there are millions of Titans in the walls, and they will wreck the fucking world.
Yeah, it definitely informs...
And those are all the size of the Colossal Titan. They're huge. And all they need is sunlight.
It definitely informs the actions of the royal family up until this point.
Also, only 80 years of the royal family. That's not many generations.
No, it's not a ton.
It also means that the royal family wiping out everyone's memories was not very long ago. Probably less than a century, depending on at what point the king just kind of fucked off from the war. It hasn't been. We've been thinking hundreds of years, whatever. It's been like a century. Maybe.
Yeah.
That really fucks with your timeline. Ah.
Well, I mean,
So yeah, so
we've known from the beginning of the series that the walls are 100 years old. So at least there's that.
that's consistent.
Yeah. And it lines up. It lines up with what we know.
It does mean that the king fucked off in the middle of the war, but that also means that it took the Marleyans another 20 years to win.
Which makes me wonder if we're ever going to get details about said Titan War. So
Maybe.
we'll see.
Or maybe it's like the Keyblade War, where we saw the results, but it's just this fucking specter in the past that everyone is obsessed with, and eventually Attack on Titan will time travel, and no, I refuse.
And then Shardus turns into Xehanort. And
He's been there the whole time! We just didn't notice!
I mean, we better be careful, because, a big crux of the world building here is that Ymir split herself into 9 pieces.
Motherfucker.
Kind of like a certain villain from a certain video
All we
game
need is
series.
4 more, and we'll have the 14 Titans and the 9 Jaegers. I don't know.
And the 9
the 7 Jaegers. I don't know. Something. It's all
Kingdom Hearts
real
is
love.
insane.
It really is. I love that franchise so very much, and it has hurt me so very much. What the fuck? Yeah.
Anyway, so that's sort of all we have in terms of like the world building here
Oh my
before we have
God.
to hop back.
Attack on Titan isn't as complicated as Kingdom Hearts.
Oh my god.
Yeah! Yeah! I mean, Kingdom Hearts has had like 15 years to do this shit, so...
I just keep
Let's-
thinking of Barry's video summarizing the Kingdom Hearts series.
Where you could just see his soul leave his
That
body.
is the exact moment that I'm thinking of. Okay, so that's it, sort of it for the world building. So to get back to Grisha's story, he turns 18, he becomes a physician, and one day he is helping
Some dude.
who happens to have this mark of the resistance people, and he was like, hey, we have some information that you might find relevant. It's the truth behind the circumstances of your sister's murder. And this
She
is...
was totally ripped apart by dogs, and thank you, show, for not showing us the graphic details.
that doesn't change the fact, like, it's dark enough cutting away and cutting back to her dead body. Like, that was super dark just in and of itself, like the implications that are there.
But for a show that really likes to show us the graphic details, I'm very grateful they didn't do it here.
Same here. That doesn't change the fact that when it did show us that quick still shot, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, oh, sweet, merciful God. What in the wall's name is happening here?
Yeah, no.
So that was exceedingly dark. So obviously, fueled by rage, Grisha joins the resistance, and
I would like to point out that his scar is super extra. Like, the guy, like, you discovered this guy's scar because it's, like, right here, which is something you can cover with most sleeves, and even then it's kind of this tiny little X scar, so you know what, whatever, it's a little thing. Oh, you know, I ran into a barbed wire fence, or I fell over, or a knife
there's a
accident.
conceivable
But
explanation.
Grisha's is just, like, huge-ass cross on his chest. Like, come the fuck on, buddy.
He was 18.
There's no hiding that.
He was 18. What I find kind of interesting just about this whole episode, just as a whole, is you see a lot of where Aaron gets it from, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. The single-minded batshit insanity for one thing. Oh, absolutely. Revenge! Revolution! Titan!
Titan.
I will never not quote the abridged series
Oh.
on here. I don't care that it ended after season 1.
I'm overdue for a rewatch. It's so good. If you haven't done it yet, go check out Attack on Titan Abridged. They go through season 1, and it's fabulous.
It is not the same thing as A Bridge on Titan, which received a cease and desist after its second episode?
One, I
After
think.
one episode. God damn.
But anyway, neither here nor there.
Everywhere.
The owl, the insider informant who provided this information, also sends over Dina Fritz, who is the last remaining member of the royal family that's on the continent proper.
Yeah.
I
wonder if she escaped from the island or if she was brought over.
They just said
She's here.
It honestly depends, because the king might have left and taken most of his family. Not everybody might have been on board with that decision. So at the very least, one relative from the royal family stayed on, probably more. Because, people have cousins and aunts and uncles and all that stuff. So we don't know how, and it doesn't matter. Point is, she's a member of the royal family. They fall in love, and they have a kid!
Named Zeke.
Now, this is interesting, because when you made a guess not that long ago that Zeke, the Beast Titan, was actually Grisha's brother. And that, honestly, I thought I had been spoiled, because I thought a while back, I saw somebody talking about how this guy is definitely Grisha's brother, and I was just like,
God damn it, guys.
I figured that was a spoiler, and brother was actually not a bad guess. The fact that Zeke was their son, I was like, oh, cool, I didn't get spoiled.
It's also just one of those.
It was one of those, oh, snap. Also, woo, thank God I wasn't actually spoiled for this. But the fact of the matter is, he and Aaron are brothers.
Which is fucked up. But also, you see Grisha holding his son and goes, my son, a child with royal blood. He will lead us to freedom. He'll be the key. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, here we go.
Oh, boy.
And then later on, he makes a comment about, did I ever see him as my son and not just, I'm like, that's the problem with a single-minded obsession.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Because much like when Grisha's father was giving this altered history of the world and shoving it down his throat, Grisha starts shoving his revolutionary agenda down his son's throat.
After the Marleyans announced, so, we need
volunteers.
We need some of you guys.
Let's call them volunteers.
Well, they actually are volunteers.
Yeah. Let's be honest, if nobody volunteered, they'd be voluntold.
Oh, yeah. We need some of you guys to embody the founding titans that we have. Your families will essentially be granted citizenship, kind of. And I assume that, that's what the subtitles cut off, but I assume that the rest of it is, we'll move you out of this zone, you won't need papers, you won't need to wear your armbands, your whole family is just going to live a much better life if you volunteer for this. And the reason that they are making this move is, well, their power is starting to falter. Evidently, they're leading the world because they have managed to use the powers of the founding titans, which, again, what does this mean?
Well, and also, technologically speaking, they are advanced.
But they need fossil fuels, which they are running out of, and there's a large cache of them under the walls. So
on the island.
Hey, it's the unobtainium plot.
So, not even unobtainium. And while we're in the process of talking about real world parallels, this is one where you take a step back and you're like, oh, this is America now.
yeah, this is Iraq.
This is
the entire Middle East.
Yeah. So, and granted, wars for resources are nothing new.
Yeah.
But it's ridiculous to not see the parallel between American industrialism and the military-industrial complex and, get resources under wall. There's a clear parallel there.
And the question that I had for this is, okay, the Marleyans are going to, the name I forgot, starts with an E. I'm good. Eldians. Thank you. I can only remember one at a time. They're going to the Eldians and saying, we need volunteers. And then later on, we get that little bit of, oh, well, you people, your type, all it takes is an injection of Titan spinal fluid and you turn into Titans. Which makes me wonder if Marleyans cannot become Titans. Because to that end, it makes sense that the Marleyans have an internment zone for the small population of Eldians they have, and that they didn't just commit genocide because, or at least not, directly, because they would eventually need them in order to have these Titan powers, and they would need Eldians that are loyal to them. So again, you indoctrinate them in your ways and you bribe them with citizenship and status and whatever. Yeah. Which makes me wonder, what form, what incarnation have the founding Titan powers been in all this time? If they've been using them to get ahead of the rest of the world, if they've been using them to industrialize, I would assume that they are not in people right now, because, otherwise we wouldn't need volunteers. We would just have the people. I wonder if they don't have spinal fluid from some of the last Titan shifters that they've just been keeping in labeled jars until they needed to be able to have Titan shifters again.
I would assume it's either that or straight up, whatever person is currently holding that power is just floating in a test tube somewhere until they have need of them.
Because you can't injure them or they become Titans. And so you need them to be extremely loyal to your cause.
And that's what we mean. Well, it's actually not true. You can kick the crap out of somebody and they won't necessarily turn into a Titan. It's that self-harm thing.
It's
because Levi kicked the crap out of Aaron in the middle of court that one day, and he didn't turn into a Titan.
It's an injury gives you the opportunity to turn into a Titan. It's not.
Could you imagine?
Well, court adjourned. Solve that king problem 2 seasons early.
Case closed, Your Honor.
Shit. It's more that being injured in any capacity gives you the opportunity to become a Titan. So again, anything you would do, scratch yourself with your nails, bite your tongue, do whatever, would allow you to then become a Titan, which is a problem.
Turning into a Titan if you bit the inside of your cheek while you were at lunch. Oh my god.
So again, requiring loyalty, and again, we need volunteers, we need people who will be loyal to us, makes me think that, again, there's spinal fluid in a jar labeled with colossal, armor, whatever.
I tend to disagree. I don't know, maybe that's how they do it, but it seemed that when Bertolt, Reiner, Annie, and their friend whose name I forget.
That guy. Oh no, not that guy.
Oh no, some guy. They were all children.
They were.
And had the power already, which is why Ymir was able to take that power and run with it, so to speak. So I kind of feel like in whatever incarnation they are storing this power, whether that's just housing it in individuals and passing it down in the same way that the royal family did it, or they found a way to extract it and store it in some way. In whatever way,
just jars of spinal fluid in a freezer.
Whatever way they're doing it, they clearly made their decision to imbue children with this power, and that explains a lot about Bertolt and Reiner's worldview and why they are so.
Well, children are easily indoctrinated.
Yep.
Very easily. Why
they're going about this like they're zealots. It also makes me wonder, I'm like, what else were they promised? If their families were promised citizenship, who knows? That might have been one of the main deciding factors. But maybe there's more to that story too. Maybe they didn't want to do this, but they were like, you're the most eligible candidate, so we're taking your parents, and you won't get them back until you do everything we tell you to do.
Actually, given their ages, I'm wondering if parents didn't give their infant children to be indoctrinated in order to have a better life for themselves. Because Bertolt and Reiner same age, maybe a couple years older.
Yeah,
than
they seem-
Aaron and company.
They all seem to be right around that same, like, 2 to 3 year age group.
They are still teenagers while Zeke is an adult.
Yes.
Maybe a young adult, but an adult. So
He's a man
presume
beard.
that he was, well, he was probably about 4, 5 when the betrayal happened
Maybe
and his parents
6?
were taken out.
Maybe 6.
Given the timeline that we had and Grisha being 20, I think we said 25 because of...
Well, he was 18 when he joined the Resistance, and, like, what we basically determined...
15 years ago, 15 years from falling off the wall, was when his 8-year-old sister died. And if I'm remembering this correctly, he was 11 at the time, which
Yeah.
made him 26 when all this shit went down. And they got married at 19 and had a child at either 19 or 20. So you're right. He could be as old as 6. Point is, Zeke
He's
is an
very
adult
young.
when everyone else is a kid, which also makes me wonder if Zeke helped indoctrinate them.
Probably. And let's be honest.
He's definitely a mentor figure to Bertolt and Reiner, and he was also like, ooh, Bertolt, you're fucked. Bye.
And
Oof.
obviously, his grandparents had a lot of sway over him because he chose his grandparents over his actual parents.
Well, Grisha did make the comment about, it's a bad idea to break your kid's worldview, and I kind of forgot about that.
Whoopsie.
It's fucking opposite day.
We're bad at this. In all honesty, that explains a lot of Grisha's secrecy in regards to Aaron. No, don't go in the basement. Just don't. I'll tell you one day, but don't. I'll tell you when I get back. Don't go in the basement.
But I mean, again, he was also mixing medicines and stuff down there. So there's an actual reason not to go, and then also a reason not to go.
I mean, let's be honest. It's the latter. It's the latter that's the main reason. But because, that knowledge broke his first child. It just did.
And his second child is raised within the wall, and that's all he knows, so...
Well, and so obviously after that betrayal, the Resistance is done, finito.
Everyone's
They torture everyone. They take...
trying to find out who the owl is.
Yeah, and no one knows, of course.
Yeah.
Good for Kruger. And so they ship everybody off to this island.
To paradise, where the walls are.
Yep, and they start. They kick over the guy that recruited Grisha in the first place. And
Poor guy.
they're like, okay, he's gonna run, and that way the Titans will move away from the wall, and that'll be easier for us to just mosey on out, unobserved. So they start turning people into Titans, and this is where we find out, oh snap!
It's all the Titans from Shiganshina, and also from the Wall Rosa. The latter wall breach. So it's the Moe Titan, and it's the gray-haired Titan that ate Eren, and it's
The smiling Titan.
Tina becomes the Titan that ate their mom. It's the worst thing.
And her last words are, no matter what form I take, I will always come find you. And she was damn near close because she certainly found his house.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're the new wife.
Well, that's the horribly tragic thing, is that this is all, like, people... They have no control of their actions when they're a Titan. They're living in a horrifying nightmare. And
that's the point when Eren wakes up.
Yeah. And we get this brief interlude because the Titan that drove his revenge, who's very much now dead, was in fact
his dad's first wife.
Yeah, was his dad's first love, and the mother of his brother, of his half-brother, as we're now finding out. And a member of the royal family. So had she actually found Grisha and nommed on him first, then this whole scenario would probably be very
she
different.
would have been a shifter and the coordinate.
Yeah.
No, at that point she would have had to have eaten Eren. Because Eren at that point,
Which
had become a Titan eaten his dad and had the coordinate and just had no impetus until his life was in danger.
Well, I'm
years later.
saying there's a little bit of a time skip in between when she breached the wall and killed Carla versus when Grisha actually made it back and everything like that.
Brain.
But you
It's
bring
been
up
a
a
while
good point.
since season 1,
End
y'all.
of season 2, though, you know, when she shows back up, had she killed Aaron in that capacity, she would have become a shifter. And to her credit, since she was a member of the Resistance, probably would have tried to use her powers for good, quote unquote.
But she would have, again, had all the memories of the royal family and been the coordinate, so...
Well, I mean, on the plus side, she kind of already knew what the intentions were of hiding behind the walls in the first place. So,
but the idea of having all that power, all those memories, is knowing how to use the power. Because Aaron's still figuring it out as best he can.
Yeah.
Because those memories are lost to him. He has dad's memories.
Had she killed him and not died herself, oh man, she would be a super uber powerful force to contend with in this world.
That's a whole other series, though.
It's also interesting because it's like, what relation did she have to Krista? Like, were they cousins?
Probably.
Was she Krista's aunt? Like, it's hard to say.
Who even knows?
It's hard to say. Yeah, they were family. So...
And Kruger stops Grisha from... He's trying to save her life. Don't. He's yelling, she's royal, and Kruger shuts him up. Because if that information had gotten out, it would have been, well, we're definitely recruiting Zeke because he has royal blood and would be able to use the coordinate.
And we'll probably also use her, too, so...
Yeah!
Good to have a spare. So Kruger's trying to keep that under wraps, so she gets turned into the Smiling Titan and also runs off. And that's... I mean, we notice it, right? Pretty quickly, but the man who killed Grisha's little sister is the one that's like turning people into titans and kicking them off the wall.
Gleefully, happily, having a good day.
He's clearly a sadist or a sociopath or something because he's just so casual and nonchalant about this horrifying cruelty.
And when asked why, he kind of gives this little speech about, peace is great for most people, but it's a little boring, and seeing this violence and participating is educational, and I learned a lot from watching your sister get fucking murdered by my son's dogs, and, I've embraced that that's the way the world is, and when my day comes, I will embrace that too, but for now, I'm here and we're doing it. Like, it's all...
Here, have a Moe Titan!
Yeah, it's all very... I have justified my own villainy to myself. Like, he's not sitting here going, what I'm doing is a good thing. He's saying, what I'm doing is interesting and educational.
It sounds like a sociopath.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Zero empathy for others. But the other part of it is, it's too bad you're an Eldian. Like, these people are subhuman. Yeah. So he's completely dehumanized them in his mind. And goodness knows if that is... He dehumanized them and therefore these behaviors became okay, or these behaviors started and he dehumanized them in an effort to keep his own sanity. Could be anything. Point being, this is our end result. This is our sanctioned serial killer.
And it's an excellent example. And you don't even need to look at Nazi Germany in terms of like looking at people who are then put into a position of authority, that power immediately going to their head, and they use it to abuse the people who are underneath them. You need look no further than the Stanford prison experiment. Like, because that whole experiment looked to find an explanation as to why certain behaviors happen in positions of authority, like in Nazi Germany. And we're like, we don't even need to be at war to be horrible to each other. So go check out the Stanford prison experiment. It's super fucked up.
If I remember correctly, for the Stanford prison experiment, it was all men, wasn't it? It was all younger men.
Yeah.
So you already take kind of like, I don't want to say the ruling class because that is some bullshit, but people who are already privileged. and already kind of have not necessarily the mindset of I am privileged, but like not really having the experience of having the world itself against them in one way or another. So
The patriarchy, yes.
yes, the patriarchy. So I think that's also a chunk of it is I'm a Marleyan, I'm better than these Eldians, and I am now in a position of authority where I can enforce law and discipline. And they're not human anyway, so why does it matter? I can do anything. No one's going to go against me. Like it's a leap off the slippery slope here. You know?
Yeah.
And again, we have our state-sanctioned serial killer.
Yeah.
No one cares
basically.
because they're Eldians.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of...
And that's something that serial killers will often do. They will often go after particular populations in society who are oppressed and often minorities and things like that, because it's like, oh...
Who's looking for them?
Exactly. And that's why a lot of murders go unsolved.
Minorities, sex workers, indigenous people.
This is all real world stuff. Go check out some true crime podcasts and educate yourself.
Listen to My Favorite Murder. You learn a lot, and also you kind of feel better afterwards. They're really good at that.
Anyway, obviously we're both true crime aficionados, so those are just things that
You're
we're
the
pulling
true crime
from.
aficionado. I'm a murderito. It's a very specific subset.
So we're just pulling things that we've absorbed. Anyway,
Yes.
Neither here nor there. Kruger actually steps in, pushes this guy off the wall. He gets eaten.
This dude empty. Eat.
He gets eaten. You know, his philosophy flies right out the window when he is in the clutches of a Titan himself.
Just like,
so.
hey, were you prepared for that shit?
Prepared for the cruelty of the world, huh? You sure look surprised.
And I mean, neither of them said that. And Kruger actually calls Grisha on it like, is it really that interesting? Like, well, it's revenge. Also, what?
Yeah, no, again...
And this is after everyone else who was on the prison ship that brought them has essentially gone back downstairs to the ship. Like, oh, well, you know, the major whatever kind of wants his alone time. It's okay, rookie, let's just leave.
And that's one of the reasons why, as I said before, I'm okay continuing this vlog series, because it does not look to be glorifying human cruelty in any capacity. And that's something, that is certainly a message I appreciate. Yeah. There is emptiness in revenge, and cruelty against your fellow man for any reason is not good. No. Yeah. An eye for an eye leaves the world blind. Anyway, so this guy, he saves Grisha and, you know, kills the member of the police who had turned the Moe Titan into a smaller Titan specifically because he wanted to see Grisha fight him. And then
Interesting that you can control that.
Yeah.
Because obviously Zeke was able to control that by having a certain number of Titans that were all about his height.
Yeah, and he straight up says, I'll make this guy a little bit of a shorter one. So it is... obviously the like, we kind of thought that the type of Titan you turned into was random, when in fact, no, that's not necessarily the case. So this guy...
Which means that at some point the Marleyans experimented on the Eldians to figure this science out.
They definitely did. I think the implications of that are very, very clear in this episode. Even just the fact that, like I said, they had Titans under their control. I'm like, oh, again, that could mean anything.
It could.
That could mean that, like, we caught one and we're still experimenting on him after all this time. Just to see what happens.
Again, we continue with the parallels.
So Kruger turns out, he's like, okay, we've reached a certain point here.
The entire
we gotta cover our
that
tracks.
I've been cultivating is fucked. So there's probably no reason for me to continue to be an inside agent for a resistance that no longer exists. So, let's fuck shit up.
Yes.
This is how you Titan!
So he turns himself into a Titan with a very familiar set of eyes.
The Berserker Titan.
He's clearly the Berserker Titan, and he crushes the ship, which basically means that any soldiers who survived his initial blast are not making it off this island, and he's probably gonna kill all of them to keep this whole thing quiet.
And I mean, you kill all of them, and then his next move, obviously, because we know Grisha becomes a Titan shifter, and because Grisha currently has no fingers, and we know that's not, again, they were all torture. None of them. Hell of a detail. Yeah, so we know at some point it's going to be, all right, I'm going to turn you into a Titan, you're going to eat me, you're going to get my power, you're going to go in there, you're going to do this, it's going to be fine, just do the thing. Like, I know that we're going to get that going forward. I have questions about what forms the Marleyans had these 7 Titans in before they were like, yeah, let's get some kids and let's infiltrate and let's do stuff.
One's a locket, one's a diary, one's a giant snake.
One is actually a small child by accident.
One is Harry Potter. Yeah, no, I will never hesitate to make a Horcrux.
It's pretty fucking funny. So there are so many questions as to the details of this, but the more you think about it, the more you get fridge horror with they can control what size Titan they are. Yeah, there were probably experiments. Well, it looks like only Eldians can turn into Titans, and that's why the Marleyans are keeping them in a ghetto. It's just one of those like,
For once, you don't have more questions. You have like, oh no, I get the immediate answer because I can put 2 and 2 together, and I hate the answer.
It's the fridge horror that just keeps on giving. It's a fucking walk-in freezer.
It's so cold in here. Would you like a blanket?
Have you ever been in a walk-in?
Maybe.
Big heavy doors, lots of frozen food, difficult to navigate if you don't know where things are.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever been into a walk-in.
It's one of those things where if you've done food service.
Yeah.
So I've been in a walk-in before. They're an experience.
No, thank you. I would feel like I was in a horror movie.
That's only if someone locks you in the walk-in, which was not something that happened to me.
But anyway, so that's where we leave this episode with a heck of a lot of pieces. Oh, we forgot to mention in the Eren interlude, real quick, because like he seems to be connecting with his dad's memory, so
he woke up crying and asking, "Who am I?" So tackling amnesia patient jokes aside, or tackling Alzheimer's patient jokes aside,
who am I?
Who am I? Which will be forever my favorite Scrubs joke.
It's the best.
Always.
But so it looks like we're wondering if maybe one of the reasons why he can't access the memories of the royal family is because he isn't related to them. That was made clear in part 1, but it does seem like he can connect with his father's memories.
Because he's related to him.
So it's that, it's not so much that it's a power that's unique to the royal family so much as it just happened to be their family. Like, that's the way the powers are intended to work, and it's just your family that it...
I just realized who one of the other unaccounted for Titans is.
Who?
Perry.
The Platypus Titan!
Yeah!
Oh, that would make sense.
Shifter.
He's a smart Titan. He's a smarty
shifter.
pants.
So that's one that we don't know about.
Either that or it just happens to be Zeke's coordinate power, or not coordinate powers, but Zeke also happens to have the power to control the Titans, which they respond to his verbal commands.
True.
So it could just
But Perry was able to talk back.
I don't think he was.
Wasn't he? I thought he could.
What did Perry say?
Oh.
No.
I don't remember.
How great would that be?
Holy shit.
If Perry the Platypus Titan was another shifter. I don't know, maybe.
I think he is. I honestly think he is.
I don't think so. I think he's just...
The series pointed him out as one, though.
They pointed him out as being smart. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. He could just be an abnormal.
Point.
There are lots of abnormals. Like, there are plenty of abnormals that they came across in the forest that, one's just watching and waiting. Other ones move irregularly. Perry the Platypus Titan is clearly aware and also very, very physically different than everybody else. So he's certainly engineered to be the way he is, but I don't think he's a shifter.
Marleyan experiments.
Yeah. Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah, this is now Fridge Horror, the series.
Yep.
Hey.
Hasn't it always been though?
More so now than before.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the end of the episode. But the other thing we wanted to bring up from the Eren interlude, not only is he like connecting and putting the pieces together and now having to live through the emotional ramifications of having killed, you know, his dad's former wife.
And also, at least a small bit of time has passed because he and Mikasa are currently serving time in jail for insubordination.
And we get the best thing in the episode, guys. Mikasa bedhead.
It's crazy.
So good. I don't know who made that choice. I don't know if it was in the original manga. I don't know if a storyboarder made that call. But Mikasa bedhead is perfect. A plus, 100%.
I love it. And it's just like, yep.
In an episode filled with so much real world shit, just having the little bit of other, like, bit of real world stuff be her bedhead, it was just so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Because normally she looks so, like, anime flawless. And everything like that. It was just so funny
it
to
looks
see.
like she's wearing makeup even when we know she's not.
Exactly.
Like, men don't understand what women's faces look like when we don't have makeup on.
And it's just so funny to see her, like, get up and her hair's everywhere. It's just like, it was so good. It like, they didn't have to do that. Eren and Armin looked pretty normal, and they made the choice to give Mikasa realistic bedhead, and it was fabulous. So
and again, Eren's
kudos.
always a mess, so...
Again, just kudos, guys. It was a tiny little bright spot in a really, really dark episode.
I think that's why they included it, because we just needed that moment of, aww.
We just needed that moment of, oh, look at that, that's funny.
In the middle of everything else just sucking.
So yeah, that's the episode. Final thoughts. I think it's time for another episode of Agretzko.
I think it's time for some drinking.
I think so too. I'm really surprised we weren't just like smashed during this, that we got through it pretty sober.
You gotta get through it.
Yeah, this is tea. So, guys, yeah, that in terms of like predictions, we've sort of already given our thoughts about
what the next episode will hold and
Yeah.
the larger implications of Marleyan subjugations of Eldians and holding Titans and all that weird
It
shit.
looks like the next episode is very much going to be filling in holes, talking about, you know, Reiner and Ymir in the time before, maybe even in the right after this whole incident happened, but in the time of like handing over the letter and like kind of deciding how their society is going to move forward, knowing that like, oh yeah, we know what's outside the walls now. It's an enemy that wants to, I mean, we already kind of knew this because of Bertolt and Reiner. It's an enemy that wants to destroy all of us, but
Because
now
they
at least
think
we
we're
know
evil.
why.
Yeah.
Now at least we know why. And granted, that's what the general Marleyan populace thinks. What the government knows about them is completely different. Like, again, Ymir being a scientist would be really cool, and then just using that devil story as
they have the
fear-mongering.
genetic ability to turn into Titans given the correct circumstances.
Yeah.
You really want to subjugate people who can overpower you.
Yeah. And, I mean, also the fact of the matter is that they'd probably be content to just let them stay within the walls because the threat the Titans pose, but they're sitting on a gold mine.
And they need
And
it.
they need it.
Which I find really funny because it's like, all right, we've got the city, we've got the walls. We have this underground city that Levi is from, so I assume the fossil fuels are just beneath that?
I'll be honest, I never read the Levi prequel and I never watched the OVA, so I don't know. Maybe that's a part of the underground black market society. I
don't
legit
know.
have no idea.
I
Maybe
read
it's
one
deep-
volume and that was not enough to get into it. But.
Maybe it's deep, deep, deep within the earth.
It also makes me wonder how the Marleyans know it's there.
Maybe they don't. Maybe they're just like, "Ugh!" Well, probably from before the king went eeny, meeny, miny there.
Just like, oh, it's called Paradise? Sounds great. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Any residents of the island prior to that, either... I would actually
Probably
say...
not there anymore.
Well, either were killed,
or went back to the continent.
Or just had their memories erased.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's hard to say because, again, there are certain families within the walls that, you know, have their own set of, like, sort of super abilities and also don't adhere to, like, the king. So maybe the origin of those families were the result of genetic experimentations during the Great Titan War.
Maybe.
So, who
We don't know.
knows?
We don't know.
Who knows?
We've been at this for an hour.
We need to wrap up.
Holy shit.
Long story short, this was a dark episode. Definitely serious subject matter, so I will be very interested to see what our team decides to do moving forward, what Queen Historia decides to do moving forward. We got a lot of, like, I'm still processing how I feel about using all these real world parallels. And again, I'm gonna have to sort of see how things play out before I make a final judgment call on all that.
And I mean, there's an apocalypse built into the walls. Water does not stop Titans.
No, it doesn't.
So. Anyway.
Anyway.
That's an episode.
It was indeed. Do you have any other thoughts besides
No.
that? All right, then let's just go ahead and say goodnight. Katie, where can people go if they want to find you?
You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on YouTube and Twitch at Kiaxet, that is Kiaxet. If you like reaction videos to non-horror things, they live over there, as well as unboxing videos and a smattering of whatever other content I make. I am also on an Overwatch podcast called On the Point. It's Overwatch League. Stage 3 is in full swing. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about. Check that out too.
And I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure to follow Silver Screams at Silver_Screams. Like us on Facebook. All that jazz. I also do a Lost retrospective podcast called No Love Lost, where my co-host Will Link loves Lost, and I don't. We talk about it. Yeah, I think we also both do a Rooster Teeth related podcast. Right now, Camp Counselor's Corner is going on, so be sure to head on over to Anchor and look up Rooster Team Radio or the Rooster Team to check out all that fun stuff. Go do that. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot lighter than what we're getting here. So yeah, I want to know, what did you guys think of this episode? Again, no spoilers. And I wanted to say thank you, everybody, for sticking with us through the serious real talk and through our spoiler discussion and everything like that. So thank you guys for being courteous. Thank you in advance for being civil. So yeah, I want to know what you guys think of this episode and what you think this means for the series going forward. And
I want to know specifically which parts of the episode broke your brains.
Yeah, sure. Let us know at what point in this episode
you just kind of went
#nope.
I think for me it was our ancestor Emir Fritz made a deal with the devil. That's the point where I went, what the fuck is happening?
I got to the point of like 9 Horcruxes and I went, wait, slow down.
Which was about 2 sentences after I hit that wall. So it's nice to know we're on the same wavelength.
Hit the brakes! And then
What?
And then it happened again when we find out what actually happened to Grisha's sister. So it happened to me twice.
For me, again, it was like, wait, all those Titans look really familiar. Oh no! Oh no, 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 no!
I take it back 3 times. Same here.
This is a series that kind of saves it for like once every couple of episodes. It will yank the rug out from under you or at least give a playful tug. This one's like, it's got like 6 stacks of rugs and it just keeps going.
And again, I wonder how all of this is going to feel, because again, part 1 of this season was so triumphant that it's like, do those victories even mean anything anymore, man. And I think they do, but
Yeah.
like, whoo.
Yes, because we know what the coordinate is, we know where it is, and our person who has it is in a slightly more stable state of mind.
Yeah.
Which is always helpful.
Yeah. But, like, actually knowing the intentions of the royal family does, like, oh,
That's why
okay.
they never let anyone out of the walls.
That doesn't change the fact that they murderized a lot of people who asked too many questions, and that a lot of people on the interior, they allowed people to abuse their power, so...
And they did some, memory erasure. So
They
it's
took
only
away
been
people's-
100 years. That's not a lot of generations.
They took away people's free will to choose what they, and so that's not good either. You get where they're coming from. That doesn't excuse any of it. Anyway, we've talked enough.
God,
we've
yes.
already done our sign off.
Yeah.
So again, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all next time. That was exhausting.
Yeah, it was.